Now for the grass, we will just make a new document and we'll pick 1024 by 1024 because we're just going to make a single patch of grass. And if you don't happen to have a perfect texture of a side piece of grass, which I really couldn't find, we can just make our own. So I got this texture here, got it from environmenttextures.com, and basically we just want to grab a section of it, bring it to our scene, and we're going to cut this texture out without doing it exactly too tedious. Basically we just need to cut these blades out and get a nice patch that we can just tile all over the place. So we will get an area about like that, and we may need to scale it a little bit, and that looks pretty good. And so we will go ahead and duplicate it to preserve the original. Select all, copy paste, so we have a cropped version. And now we just need to get the selection, which will not exactly be easy, but we can start off with the magic wand to get all these different areas, and then we'll just hit refine edges, which is something kind of new, and we'll just see what it's giving us. And we really don't want to feather it too much, but we'll go ahead and click add mask, and then just hit Control I to invert the mask, so you can see pretty much what we have going here. And so basically we just need to go in and with your brush clean up these areas. And it's a little tedious, but there's not a really easy way to do this. Another thing you could do is they have a new quick selection tool where you could just go in and paint your selection, which is kind of neat, but it also can be time consuming. So instead of showing you the entire process of cleaning this up, I basically did it with the camera paused, and I did over here, as you can see. It's the exact same thing, except just cleaned up, and it's just using the same techniques that I just showed you. I can just drag it into the scene over here, and we will go ahead and hide or delete these other ones. So just make sure this lines up. You can use the arrow keys to nudge, and we'll go ahead and give a kind of a greenish background. There's a decent background, and make it a little bit darker green. Alright. Now, usually I would like to give a gradient going from the bottom to the top, so we can have a nice contact darkness with the mud. So to do that, we're just going to make a new layer, and we use a gradient, and we're going to put it on multiply. And when I select gradient, it's going to try to do the foreground and the background, but I just want to do black to white, so I'll just pick that. And I'll just hold down shift and drag up until I get pretty much anything. So I have that. Now what I want to do is hit Control T, and now I'm just going to warp it a little bit so it kind of bend from darkness to not so dark out. It kind of curves up, kind of like that. And so you can kind of just drag this up and see what you have, and it really can help solidify that grass. Now another thing I want to do is duplicate this, and I'm going to hit Control U. I'll try to shift these colors around a little bit. So I'll give them a little bit more yellow-ish. I'm going to go into this mask and I'm going to apply it. And then I'm going to add another mask, and I'm just going to add and remove some of it, so it's not always the same kind of tones. Another thing is it's so clean that I'd like to dirty it up a little bit. So I'll go ahead and bring in that stain and drag it in, and also set it to multiply, and we'll go ahead and levels it out. Set the opacity much lower, and we'll just apply it like this. And then we'll go ahead and add another mask on here and just paint some of it in and out. So now we're just going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to name it grass. And this one really won't require a lot of iteration, so we will just manually save the targets. And we'll just name grass diffuse. And now we also need an alpha to save out, so go ahead and make a couple folders. And we'll give this a layer name. And we'll drag these into the grass. Now for the alpha, we just need a solid black background. So we will just fill that with black. And then we also need the mask, so we'll just control click that layer, make a new one here, and get a solid white. And just fill it with that. So that's pretty much our mask. And it looks like a little dot up here that I missed. So we just go ahead and erase that. Alright, we'll just save this one as grass alpha. Save that. And we'll just go into Unreal really quick, and I didn't bring it in yet, so I just need to import. So I'll import the two grass textures, compression no alpha, defer compression, and hit OK to all. And you just need to make a new material. So we'll duplicate this one, and we'll just name it grass. So we'll plug this into the opacity mask, and we'll be using opacity mask instead of opacity because you can't have lit translucent materials, which would be opacity. You can have lit opacity mask materials, but the cost is you can only have 1-bit alpha, so black and white. For grass, it's not so bad. So just make sure that you change your blend mode to masked. And you can see the grass here. And also you can choose two-sided for the grass, which will display it on both sides. Click the green checkbox to save the changes. And we'll go back to the mesh. Select the grass. And we'll put it here in 6. So now you can see we have our first steps to getting some grass in our scene. And it doesn't look bad. It's a little green, so maybe we can experiment with adding 2 tones. And so that's pretty much it for the first steps in creating our textures with the base. Next we'll go through and make some specular maps and touch it up and start polishing and get ready for finalizing all these textures and tying them all together.